Hi everyone, I'm Elvis Picardo, Senior Portfolio Manager with Luft Financial IA Private Wealth. As most of you may know, Robert and I, along with our associate Vincent, jointly manage your portfolios. The purpose of this video is to provide a brief overview of market developments in the second quarter and also to keep you informed about some changes that we made recently to your portfolios. But first, let's take a quick look at the markets and get some sense of what they did in the first half of this year. The TSX was down marginally in the second quarter, but is still up about 4.5% in the first half of this year. In fact, it hit an all-time high in May, but has since retreated from that level. In the US, the S&P 500 gained more than 4% in Q2 and is up about almost 15% year to date. It traded at a new record above 5,500 in the last week of June. There were two important market developments in the second quarter. The first is that the Bank of Canada cut its benchmark rate on the 5th of June, and this was the first rate cut in over 4 years, the last such rate cut being at the height of the pandemic in 2020. The second point is that in Q2, concentration on the S&P 500 reached a new high. It reached extreme levels, with the biggest tech stocks accounting for a record part of the S&P 500, and just two stocks, Nvidia and Microsoft, accounting for almost half the gains of the index. So what are the implications? Now that the Bank of Canada has commenced its rate cut campaign, more rate cuts should be forthcoming in the months ahead. The bank has said that future rate cuts will depend on economic data. But unless inflation proves to be really sticky, interest rates look likely to head lower. And that's because the Canadian economy, Canadian consumers, are struggling under the weight of a huge debt load and the costs to service this debt. The next point is that the degree of concentration in the US market is a potential red flag, because if these big tech stocks reverse course, the US market may see some downside. So in this environment, we are allocating the part of your portfolio that was in individual stocks to low-cost exchange-traded funds or ETFs that are actively managed by some of the biggest money managers in Canada and globally. The benefit of this move is that it will enable your portfolios to participate in most of the market upside, but at the same time, and this is really important, it will provide good downside protection for your portfolio. So one effect of this change is that our exposure to the Canadian market will decrease slightly, and our allocation to the US and international markets will increase a little bit. So for example, Canadian equities now make up about 25%, I should say 33% of a portfolio, but with the changes that we make, that share will go down from 33% to 25%. And for the US, the new allocation will be about 55% compared to about 48% earlier. So it's a fairly significant reallocation, but we think it's justified because Canada has been underperforming the US for a prolonged period. And because of the relative difference in the economies, it might take quite a while before Canada outperforms the US. So with these changes, your portfolios will now have greater exposure to a diversified basket of the biggest and the best companies in the US and Canada. And that should lead to portfolio returns that are more closely aligned with the markets. This greater degree of diversification also means that we should experience lower portfolio volatility overall. We still have a couple of options if you wish to hold individual stocks in your portfolios. And one of the things we are considering is an equity pool similar to the Platinum Growth Fund, which has been a top performer for us with a gain of 19% last year and up about 12% so far this year. The only difference is that the new pool will hold individual stocks and Platinum holds funds and ETFs. So that's a brief summary of the changes that we have just made to your portfolios. We will be sending out more information in due course. But in the meantime, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to any of us on the Luft Financial team. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. Goodbye.